Why do you believe what you believe? Why does anyone believe what they believe? And why do those beliefs come into conflict with one another? Think about it. We all experience the same world, and we all like to think that we are reasonable and logical, and yet humanity is far from unity. Talk to anybody, and you'll eventually find a point of disagreement with them about something. But why? Well, here's the thing. Beliefs are built on top of each other. Ideals are built on beliefs, beliefs are built on deeper beliefs, and deep beliefs are built on top of even deeper beliefs. It forms a branching structure of logic. Now, most people are very commonly swayed by appeals to emotion rather than logic, but even then, they are usually able to construct a line of logic that justifies their position, even if they only do so retroactively. To be without a line of logic is to admit to yourself to some degree that your position is probably wrong. When people believe their opinions are logical and justified and based on factual reality, they then believe that they have the power to say how things ought to be. They believe they're able to say the world should logically be one particular way, and that if everyone else just thought as clearly as they did, everything would be great. As beliefs are built on other beliefs, two people might feel differently about one issue, say, how much our society should focus on space travel, just to pick an example. One person A, might believe space travel is a waste of resources and is antithetical to the preservation of other life we share this planet with. Person B might think pursuing space travel is a great investment in the future of humanity, and that its potential benefits for all life will eventually massively outweigh the initial drawbacks. Though they disagree on this topic, person A and B do actually agree more fundamentally on the importance of preserving life on Earth. Their lines of belief, their lines of logic, diverge after this point. However, yet another person C, may disagree with that, believing, for example, that only human life is fundamentally valuable, and that all non-human life is not sentient or is not self-aware in the same way that humans are, and thus isn't valuable. Notice this person cannot be swayed to believe differently about anything on the basis of how it might impact non-human life forms. To convince this person one way or the other, based on an argument about how it might ethically impact non-human life, one would have to first convince them of the importance or the sentience of non-human creatures in the first place. Notice as well that this person may end up having points of convergence on certain topics with the others. However, they will not reliably agree with either in the future due to the more fundamental branch in their belief structure. But what is at the bottom of this tree of belief? What is the logic that grounds all that follows? The belief you structure your entire life around? Is there one? Is it merely subjective? Or is there something objective and stable? If you ask someone what a religion fundamentally is, they're likely to say something like a set of beliefs, or a description of how the universe was made. But those aren't quite the right way of getting to the root of the idea. At bottom, religions provide that floor to the structure of logic you base your life upon. They build a belief structure on the shared foundational assumptions about the nature of the universe, and the religion provides a framework that orients the followers towards the same goals, and those goals align with the fundamental truths of the universe according to the religion. So, in essence, religions unite people on the most fundamental basis, and then aim the efforts of those people at the highest goals identified within their framework. One problem is, of course, that the world's major religions were formed by Iron Age cultures, whose arbitrary or vestigial ideas were integrated into the tradition. But they still succeed in providing a structure of logic that works internally. It's just that the deepest and most fundamental elements of the framework, the parts that really are the most important, are often fatally flawed or cyclical, or based upon ancient and incorrect information, or sloppy thinking, or has been altered over many generations to miss what had been the original point. That said, a structure of logic doesn't actually have to be perfect for people to believe it. In fact, this basic principle of providing a foundational belief is sort of true not just for religions, but for strong political ideologies, for national identities, even within some corporations. Metaphysical beliefs cut down to the deepest truths, and these are usually religious in nature, but getting in on some relatively low level, gives these other entities massive control over the way you act as well. The reasoning all these systems of thought use is typically cyclical at some level, such as the Bible being true because the Bible says it's true, which must be true because the Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. But even obviously flawed foundations like this can orient people if the people are convinced. Not only that, but it's often a preferable outcome for the functioning of society than allowing every individual to plant the root of their system of belief completely differently. If we did that, even if most people did it in a way that was quite smart about it, certainly smarter than some top-down doctrine would force them to be, it would generally produce vast numbers of smarter but fundamentally irreconcilable ideas. A very effective society will have many people who are logically grounded in a similar way, but what exactly they are effective at is a consequence of how close their logical grounding is to the actual truth of reality. It isn't too difficult to come up with the names of religious and political ideologies that have inspired millions to act in a certain way only to produce harmful results. So here's the question. Is it possible to find the objectively correct place in which to plant our tree of logic? Or at the very least, could we determine a vague region in which it must be planted? Is it possible? In principle? Is it possible to find the true logical grounding, which I hypothesize does indeed exist? In our world, what constitutes progress to one group may be regress to another. We're alone in a universe that we're trying to understand, and we're fully able to assist or destroy others depending upon our ideas and preferences. One person believes we should conquer the stars, another thinks technology is a detriment, another thinks their culture should dominate the earth, another thinks the lines between us are illusory and we should all just get along. In all this confusion, in all this complexity, is it possible for us to identify, truly, what humanity ought do? If one can find a flaw to metaphysics, which is beyond doubt, and if one can then build a structure of logic upon that foundation, which is procedurally rigorous and totally logical, and in no way arbitrary, one could unify all of humanity behind a common goal. If we could correctly identify the most fundamental possible belief and demonstrate it thoroughly, it could orient all of humanity in the same way, and that orientation would point towards truth. It wouldn't just be another doctrine of thought, it wouldn't be a dogma. It would be like a North Star with which we could plot our course through reality. For now, I'll leave you with that thought, but for next time, consider how profoundly it would affect you to have some weighty tome offering to you the wisdom of the universe, but rather than requiring faith, its claims are either self-evident or trivially easy to verify. Imagine the power with which something like that could motivate the unification of humanity. Do you think that's possible to actualize? Let me know. That's everything from me for now. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.